Want big savings on best-in-class supplements? From November 21st to 28th, you can save 25% on all of Bioptimizer's products. No restrictions and no limits. This is their biggest sale of the year, and it won't happen again until 2023, which means right now is the best time to stock up on Magnesium Breakthrough, P3OM probiotics, Mastizymes, and more. Just go to www.bioptimizers.com/podcast10 and enter podcast 10 for 25% off any order during 2022 Black Friday, November 21st through 28th.
I'm not going to bother with the theme tune. We're just going to crack on.
Oh, right. Where's that?
Oh, fine. I'll do the theme tune.
Yeah. Be a professional.
Hello, EggChasers Rugby podcast about rugby doesn't take itself all the game too seriously.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, because we've right. Full disclosure, we've just hit stop on one podcast and we're starting this one because we've done the international stuff.
Done.
And this is all about domestic rugby. Did you play this weekend, JB?
Did I play? Yes, we played Southport. So another 5-pointer in the bag.
Yes.
Bloody difficult team. Didn't get our fourth try till basically injury time, last play of the game. So that was very important. We're still 1 point behind LSH in the table, despite beating them last week or the week before.
How did they get on? 5-point win?
They didn't get a 5-point win.
Oh.
So we're 1 point behind them. Warrington next week, who I think are going to be seriously handy, and we're missing a lot of players. But it won't be an issue. We've got huge amounts of talent throughout the squad. So,
And you're missing this week?
I am. I'm playing for the Mako Sharks in Dubai.
Oh.
Meeting some listeners out there as well for a few beers.
And playing against...
Jonathan, I won't travel east. Beardmore is going to Dubai.
Going to Dubai?
What a horrible hypocrite.
I won't go to Eastern Europe, that's what I mean. I'm definitely not ever going to Eastern Europe ever again. I'm not going to the cold East, let's put it that way.
Warm East.
I'm so up for Tbilisi.
I fancy Tbilisi as well.
Feel free to go.
If me and Phil booked Tbilisi, you'd be there.
I might go. I don't know. I'd think about it. Sure. I'd strongly consider it, but I probably wouldn't.
We can beer press you into going there.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be playing a team for the Mako Sharks, which are veterans 10s, which will include playing against Marcel Garvey, Kerry Sweeney, Matt Gilbert. It's going to be a lot harder. James Hook, yeah. It sounds like it's going to be a lot harder than I initially thought. And, of course, Marcel Garvey lives in Lyon now, doesn't he? So he's bringing some French mates along. Can't wait to see which, Chabal or somebody. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Fabian Palou's filling me in. It's going to be superb.
I'll take some pics.
I will do.
Yeah, brilliant. Not my
Where
team.
were you this weekend? Where did you stop off for a coffee?
Well, so I drove back to Manchester from Twickenham via Marlow.
Wow.
Dropped a friend off in Marlow, stopped for a bit of cake and a coffee, and then head on my way back to Manchester.
You weren't tempted to drop in and see the boys, no?
Well, the boys had already played earlier that day, hadn't they?
How did they get on?
I don't know. JB's going to tell me how Marlow got on. I was watching England.
I think they won again.
Good on my boys. What on Marlow?
I tell you who did win. Aylesbury, despite doing their best to throw it away. They beat Beaconsfield by, I think, 18-12.
Oh, that's a local derby, that.
Yeah, huge local derby. Beaconsfield are currently beneath them.
What are the biggest derbies in the UK? I'd love to, because Hull, there's two teams in Hull, isn't there?
Oh, that's got to be up there.
Oh, that's Rugby League, though, particularly.
That's
Rugby League.
There are two teams in Rugby Union, Hull, as well.
Ionians.
Yeah, Ionians and Hull.
Yeah.
Regular Hull.
Yeah.
Standard Hull.
And they're in the same league, aren't they?
They've played in the same league at times.
It used to be the case that Darlington, Mowden Park and Darlington were in the same league. They're not anymore, but they were.
Sheffield and Sheffield Tigers are in the same league.
They're
in National 2. Yeah, which Hull got promoted from last year, but Hull Ionians are
That's
still.
what I want some help with. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. I want Bobby emails and messages and stuff.
LSH Wigan is very good. Sorry, Widnes is very good. LSH...
Waterloo must be tasty.
Yeah, that'll be a very good
That'll
one.
go back years and years.
So look, Liverpool St Helens and West Park St Helens are in the same league.
Yeah, at one point Waterloo and New Brighton would have been tasty.
Well, New Brighton
are
an absolute joke now.
Yeah,
in terms of where they are, what's happened to that club. I think they're so low down they can't get relegated again.
They used to have like a giant 40-year-old Fijian, number 8, who would
Catty.
just steamroll over.
He's
everyone.
incredible, an incredible human. Yeah, he was still playing until very, very recently. Played for Samoa in a World Cup. And he also plays for New Brighton.
But
nice.
Richmond, London, Scottish will be very tasty because I don't know if they still play on the same ground, but they have been playing on the same ground.
Yeah.
At the Richmond Athletic Ground.
So just a few bits and pieces about New Brighton whilst we're here. May as well. Back in the day, they used to do a Sunday lunch, but of course on a Saturday, with silver service for their committee members and the committee of the other team who sat in the stands above the clubhouse. That was their thing.
Awesome.
So you come in your blazer, here's your silver service beef and whatnot. And the other thing is, it's very interesting to see who historically has sponsored New Brighton, because all the bits that they've been sponsored by are plastered all over their clubhouse. For instance, they've got these 2 conservatories. The only reason they'd ever have a conservatory like that is purely because they must have been sponsored by a conservatory supplier. There's no possible other reason that you would have a conservatory over the entrance of your changing rooms, but they do. So
it's a bit like a tunnel club that like Tottenham and City and various other places.
It's a very early version of the tunnel club.
Yeah.
So you can watch the players emerge from the changing room for a good 5 yards through the tunnel.
Yeah. Access to the New Brighton players has never really been that restricted, has it?
Well, back in the day, they were a big club.
I'd love to know
a lot of money.
In the southwest. I bet there are some fierce derbies, local derbies. I'd love to know. Let us know what's the biggest. Let's try and map out the biggest derbies.
Not Aylesbury, mate.
In England rugby, yeah, 100%. By the way, the Raffy Quirks Broughton Park under-15s team now have started listening to the podcast.
Oh, good lads!
They've clocked that they get and every time we have a win, they go, "You're gonna mention that? You're gonna mention my tribe?" So I said no, but
make your own luck.
But I will mention that a good win against Bowden.
Oh, it's Bowden.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do they pay their kids as well, or is it just it's just the adults that they pay?
It's very nice. Like that
jokes. I like Bowden. Good club.
I know it's a good club. It is a good club. But that was one of the things. But when you're chatting to the lads, you're like, right, these are lads from Cheshire. Let's show them what boys from South Manchester are like. Come on.
We overheard a team talk for the opposition last year, and they described Didsbury Sock H as playing pub rugby, and they're only good enough to be playing the dog and duck, because we came from a lower down league. We put 101 points on them. Cheers, boys.
I do. Bowden Rugby Club isn't in Bowden. It's basically Withenshaw Hospital.
Yes, it is.
It's like a quarter of a mile away from Withenshaw Hospital. So it should be. They think they're posh, but they should be called Withenshaw Rugby Club.
They should be. Well, there is
there is now a Withenshaw Rugby Club.
Yeah. So Bowden. Well, the actual facilities are amazing. The pitch is amazing. Apparently, a second team pitch gets run off from a pig farm.
So there are a lot of farms around.
Yeah, and it used to be horrendous. The second team pitch. I think they've sorted that, but that was like the historic thing about Bowden. You never wanted to play second team.
So we had a thing today where the referee would decide when you got a penalty and you wanted to kick to touch. The referee would decide where he thinks the line out should be taken, and he wouldn't let you kick because they lost too many balls in the house on the far side of the pitch, and they wouldn't. And that neighbour is obviously quite bitter and won't give the balls back,
selling them all on eBay.
That's amazing. Just put a big fence.
So the ref just says, "Oh, I think you would have got it around here. Line out there."
Oh, imagine that. Yeah, that's amazing. It's very. It's a novel solution. Yeah. Excellent stuff. So good win. What was the score?
22-12, and we were missing quite a few players, and didn't have a scrum half when we started. Didn't have a prop. We had a few lads away. Lancashire Cup in 2 weeks. That's what
a big one, isn't it?
That's what we're building.
It's a big one.
Tasty.
Yeah. We need to get over Warrington next week. We get over Warrington. We've got a few games which will be slightly easier. Warrington is the big one. They are third. We need to beat them. Although Widnes did us a massive favour this week and beat Warrington, so just gives us a little bit breathing room. To have a league.
So there's a few top level Premiership, and URC games and some top 14 games.
So let's start with the Premiership, shall we?
Yeah.
I get in on a Friday night and I'm thinking, do you know what? I would like to sit in front of my TV, watch a bit of the football. and then watch a bit of the rugby. To my absolute disgust, BT Sport were not carrying the Friday night game. So there was, instead of having 3 games to watch this week, I don't know why this was the case. So I googled to see where I could catch rugby on Premiership TV for £3.40. Now I have no problem paying for a game which wasn't going to be televised. If Sale are playing someone and Leicester on TV and Sale in the non-televised game, you either go to the game or you fork out. But when you pay for BT Sport and you've signed up for 3 games a week, you get 3 games a week. There was no way on earth I was paying for £3 or £4. Even if it was the All Blacks, I would not be paying that. And I suspect lots of people feel this way. It's an absolute joke. If you've signed up for 3 games, show 3 games.
Well, I don't think they don't say they'll play 3 games a week. That game will be made up. For example, there's a double header on this Saturday coming. There's 2 games. There's an 8 p.m. Saturday game.
So do you,
Bristol v Leicester.
So do you think?
Oh, the Pat Lam referee scandal.
Yeah. You're lying, Pat.
You're lying, Pat. So I think possibly it's.
You reckon they've got a limited number of games? Do you?
Well. So they will make that game will be made up elsewhere, and I think that what they may have been doing is actually, and if you think about it, if you flip it round, and obviously I'm very biased here, but if you flip it round and say they were going, all right, the reality is, for a large chunk of our potential audience, they will be watching England in the football.
Yes.
So
a very large.
So let's move a game to a space where there isn't an England football game, and then we're serving our potential audience much better overall.
Well,
much as I love the Friday night rugby as well.
That's what I wanted to see.
And I was driving down to London on Friday night, and I was flicking between BBC Radio Devon and BBC Radio Gloucester.
Well, it got to
the games.
It got to a stage, and I'm not proud to say this, but I ended up watching Doak and Hume and the rest of the boys take on Zebra, and
beat down,
an absolute beat down. I was watching Zebra. It was like watching. A Premiership All-Stars team from 2007. So you had Kovacic playing, you had Chris Cook playing. There was a few of them. And I imagine they'll pick up a few more.
Yeah, there'll probably be a few more going sooner rather than later.
So yeah,
good win for my boys. I didn't watch it because I was watching England.
I tell you what, Ulster, it wasn't obviously the strongest Ulster team for obvious reasons.
Do you regret that choice now, Phil, in hindsight?
I regret watching England. I would have rather watched anything else,
yeah.
And definitely my beloved Ulster. So yes, I do. It's an awful. This is not a football podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, considering how many players were not in Ulster squad, they do put out some talent. No two ways about
that. They've not got a bad squad.
Wait till Kitsoff gets that jersey on.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Stockers was playing.
It's my boy Stockers.
Stockers is back. Is he back in any form yet? Would he ever
get
into any form again?
I'm just trying to think.
That is a fall from grace, isn't it, Crichton? He's had a proper...
He had, I think it was
for a little while.
About 18 months out injured. He's only just, early this year, he's coming back for the first time in a long, long time.
How long's his hair at the minute? What's he done with it?
I've not seen him since the start. It was kind of semi-long, I think, at the start of the season.
Is there another McElroy? It's not Ethan McElroy, is there? Is there 2 of them?
Rory?
Not Rory McIlroy.
Ethan, yeah.
Ethan is the winger.
Is that the guy with great feet? Have I got the right guy?
He's
got mega feet.
Solid winger. Mega feet would be Mike Lowry.
No.
He's got great feet.
No.
Gilroy?
Not Gilroy.
Gilroy, maybe.
Not Gilroy.
Maybe Gilroy.
Gilroy's a bit past it now.
Is it?
Yeah.
McElroy, Gilroy. Yeah, it probably is.
Bella Kuhn has got great feet.
He has got great feet. Jeffrey Tumunga plays for you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. All the stars.
Picked up. Was that pre-Wasps? That was before Wasps went bump.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. But Rory Sutherland was picked up when Worcester went. Although I don't think he was playing because he got injured for Scotland. Was it Scotland?
I don't.
Yeah, he's injured anyway.
Well, Mark Kovacic played 8. He's great at number 8, but then he was playing against a rugby god in Dwayne Vermaelen.
Yeah.
And the score probably reflected exactly the teams.
That is a bit of a mismatch.
It's a bit of a mismatch, isn't it? I thought the biggest mismatch in terms of back rows was going to be Ollie Cracknell, who can bang, against 7-star, who plays for Bath. What's his name?
De Carpentier.
De Carpentier. completely wrong. Decop NCA played him off the field.
By the way, because you just mentioned Worcester, someone sent us a link to the hearing.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. No, I was wondering if you had.
I have seen parts of it actually, and I was hoping Phil would watch it so we could give me the details. The RFU did not come out well. There was one particular point where Bill Sweeney's trying to answer a question, and he just doesn't have the balls to say what he should say. So the question was a basic yes or no answer. Were conversations had about the fit and proper test prior to these Worcester owners taking over? And he just kept on going, well, there were learnings, we learned, and it's just the way he answered the question, which just made him look very disingenuous. And that's not him. That is not that's not who the man is. So I don't think he did himself any favours with his style of answering questions. But he should have used, and so should Massey Taylor, have used that platform to describe to the world exactly what is wrong with their organisations. They had the perfect platform to say, because I don't know where the RFU responsibility starts and where it ends. I don't know. I mean, is it the RFU's responsibility to vet the Worcester owners? Is it Premiership Rugby's responsibility? Where does the power lie? I really don't understand where the demarcation is between the two organisations. Who does what? They should have been very clear on that.
It's probably more Premier Rugby, I would have thought, but I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Because it's their brand, isn't it?
It is.
They have responsibilities to the RFU, as the RFU have responsibilities to them, but they are separate entities.
Yeah.
So one would assume it's more PRL. But it ultimately reflects badly on both parties, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And it causes ripples and consequences for both parties.
Yeah, I'm sure I saw somewhere that the upshot of all this is someone's told them to resign. One of the MPs said, you're not fit for purpose. But I'd have to double check that. It didn't go well.
Do you know who they said that to? Massey Taylor?
No, I don't actually. But it was Massey Taylor and it was Sweeney sat together. So they had a tough time of it, rightly so. But they had such a good opportunity to be open and public about the mess the rugby administration is in. And I don't think anyone would have shot them down for that, because these are men who are meant to be working on the solutions. If you were honest about the problems that you face, I think they'd look a lot better than saying, yeah, there were learnings, or we think we're in a better position now. Or, no, you're not. You're not.
Never apologise, never explain, though.
Well, that's it. Well, you can throw your organisation under the bus without apologising.
But you're kind of throwing yourself under the bus to a degree.
Yeah.
I will try and catch up on that, because I'd be quite interested to see.
Well, there's another go around, I think, this week with different personalities. I don't know who.
I wonder if I could sit in on that and ask some questions.
Well, you can actually.
Yeah.
You can't ask questions. I've sat in on a select committee hearing. I did it for, I want to say it's foreign aid or something. I went to visit the House of Parliament, and there's a select committee. And you just walk in and you sit down and you watch it. Dead easy.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, really good.
My legs just gone to sleep.
Okay.
Stand up.
Your chair not as comfortable as ours, Tim?
No, that's all right. But unfortunately, Munster never came through with sending us the sin bin chair.
Well, it wasn't Munster, it was Biffa, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was still Munster.
Yeah,
I thought it was
in the
someone
bin.
within Munster.
Shame, real shame that. Real shame.
Am I right in saying there's one more week of Premiership where internationals are now available if clubs choose to use them, and then we're into the European fortnight?
Right, yeah. So then it gets serious. So anyway, talking of serious, I tell you who are not serious. Bristol. Anyone see this?
No, this is the one game I've not.
They
really
looked
caught any
all
of.
right. Bristol looked all right.
They did. This was their best.
They look much more like Bristol.
Well, do you see the try that they scored?
Piers O'Connor's. Which one of his? He scored 2, didn't he?
The one where they all run into the short side. It looks like a training drill, and it's phenomenal.
No,
So, do you know it's a training drill where you line up 4 lads behind each other, and you run towards the tackle bag, and as you get to the tackle bag, the guy behind you pops up to the left, and you just lift
the ball in the middle.
Yeah, and you lift.
The ball kind of stays static.
No, the ball does move. So you sort of run, you lift the ball, the oncoming player to your left then goes into the space that you left into the next bag. So you're attacking a straight line, one behind the other, and you're attacking bags which are one behind the other. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And they did that to Sale. Perfectly. They just showed up on the blind side, pop, 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 round the corner, and scored. It was one of the nicest little tries I've seen in a long time. Beautifully executed. So they did that. But yeah, this was their best chance to win. I don't think they'll be able to put out many stronger teams than this. They didn't have Semi, but they had all of the other superstars out. The pack had most of their big hitters in.
Although they're missing £1 million of prop.
Yes, they are missing their prop. Piatel played, Semi didn't,
yeah.
Chris Louis did, Stephen Luatua did, Fitz Harding. So, they were good to roll.
But they were at Sale and they pushed Sale all the way, 25-20.
Yeah. But
away at Sale. And Sale, likewise, only missing Johnny Hill, really.
Yes, they needed to win this, I think. If they're
And
gonna
Manu.
yeah,
Manu and Johnny
bothered.
Hill. So,
But I mean, this makes second to bottom now. If you exclude Wasps and
yeah,
Worcester.
it's a very important couple of games actually. That one for Bristol was one, and I also think Exeter losing to Newcastle was very significant. I think had Exeter won that one, they could actually look at this first half of the season and go, "All right, not perfect, but we're in touch and we're all right."
You know what I'm doing?
Yeah. Well, if they win that, they're top 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got 1 point, so yeah, they would be because of wins. So yeah, they'd be in the top 4 if they win that.
Fair play to Newcastle. I think we called Newcastle winning last week, didn't we?
And
tough place to go. Horrible place to go on a Friday night.
Tough place to go, and Newcastle have got 2 amazing party tricks. One is George McGuigan firing off the back of a rolling maul. Number 2 is Mateo Carreras.
Yeah, that's a real party.
There's no excuse. There is no excuse, however. I was listening to, as I said, I was flicking around on the radio stations. I wasn't listening to the football. I was listening to BBC Radio Devon and covering the game up at Kingston Park. And there is no excuse for the PA system at Newcastle. It's over the top.
Well, 2 things about Newcastle.
Over the top.
The PA system's ridiculous. Also, the camera angles they use are ridiculous because they film the small stand, don't they?
They do.
And they should flip it around and film
the big
stand. Because it's quite a big stand. It's quite an impressive stand.
Yeah.
Instead, it just looks like a couple of ports cabins and a primary school. It looks rubbish.
Yeah. Some temporary toilets.
Yeah. No, thank you.
It's a good win, and it is, exactly as you say, Tim, frustrating for Exeter. Now, I've only seen the highlights of this, whatever it is, 13, 14-minute highlights. But it's notable that Exeter didn't score any penalties. Whether they had any kickable penalties, I'm not certain, but it looks likely that they turned down kickable points that would have potentially meant the difference between winning and losing.
Yep.
Well, they were up at half time. They were going okay. I was following the score because I couldn't watch it live on TV. I was following the score on Twitter, and by all accounts, they were doing well. But
I mean, had BT Sport had their Friday night game, surely they would have been at the Stoop.
Yes, of course they would. Of course they would. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly the game that I wanted to watch.
It sounds like Quinn's handily did a job on Gloucester, who was spirited and came back a little bit in the second half, but not enough. Didn't have enough. And where does that leave Gloucester in the table? Because they've had a little bit of a slide, haven't they?
They've Gloucester 7th.
Yeah, currently 7th.
They've
played
4 points above Bath, which is a sad indictment.
But equal on points with Exeter Chiefs. But they've also played. Well, they've played 8 games, which some teams have played 9. But Gloucester, because they had a couple of, they didn't play for like 3 weeks early.
Yeah, so when Bath get their game in hand, there's a good chance that they go above Exeter.
Well, there's a chance.
Exeter and Gloucester. Well, yeah. Big chance because
There's
they're
always,
on 8.
There's always a
17
chance.
points, 21. Yeah, they could even go level with Leicester. Imagine if Bath make top 4.
That would be remarkable.
Wouldn't that just be real kick in the teeth for rugby? What would we talk about every weekend? That would be awful.
Yeah, it's a good. I looked at this fixture, Quins v Gloucester, and thought, oh, Gloucester have a chance here because they hardly lose anyone, and Quins lose a few people. But actually, Quins weren't really losing, other than Marcus Smith.
That's it.
They weren't losing anyone.
No, they had Esther Hazen, they had
Marchant, Tommaso Allen, who's been out for them, Don Brandt, yeah, Caden Murley, who's obviously been in the England squad. They're all there, all available. So it's actually a strong Quins team with obviously Marcus Smith is more important for Quins than he is for England. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Yeah, substantially.
But they had more than enough to beat Gloucester.
Yeah, it's the post-international window which is tricky for teams. Because they don't really know who they can pick, who they can't pick. For whatever reason it is, Welsh players can easily deal with playing 3 international games and then lose resummit, show up, and then others they can't use.
That was it. That was a lovely moment in this game where Caden Murley steps inside Lewis Rees-Summit and accelerates.
Oh,
I don't know if you
what
saw
happens
this.
next?
I didn't see that.
Well,
So late on in the game, breakdown. I think it was a turnover. Caden Murley breaks down the left, and Rees-Summit is coming across to make the tackle, and he steps inside him. So Rees-Summit tries to turn his back to then try and catch. So Murley's past him.
Yeah,
Rees-Summit has to turn and then try and catch him, and he does.
incredible.
Caden Murley was going full pelt. He's absolutely flying.
Well,
and Rees-Summit catches him in a relatively short space of time.
Wow. Well, you know my views on Rees-Summit. I think he is rugby's Ronaldo. They look sort of similar build. They're not overly big. He's just amazing. He's just absolutely astounding rugby player.
If you were gonna make a video game, like in a UK based one, he's the face you put on it.
Oh, he's the face of rugby, I think.
No, well, Colby, and surely worldwide you've got Bowden Barrett.
Moonga.
Barrett, Zammit, Marrow. Those would be the mega stars that I push.
Marcus Smith has not made it. He's not made it. His hair's beautiful. He knows how to play with it in the right manner, but he's just not done it on the big stage.
He needs to be better at rugby.
He is very, very. He's a very engaging guy, Marcus Smith. Got a lot of time for him, and he's very keen on media. So watch this space. So he did I was chatting to some of the guys when I was working for TalkSport at Twickenham. They were working on one of the NFL games, wherever it was, one of the Tottenham Stadium, perhaps.
Yeah,
and Marcus Smith was there to watch the game and did a little TalkSport sort of grabbed him. Went, "Oh, Marcus, NFL fans, come and have a chat." And he did a chat, and what the TalkSport guy said. He did that I've said on this podcast before. He always says the name of the person that's talking to whoever you are. He says, "Yeah, the thing is, Phil, you got this, and look, JB, and it's a very engaging thing to do." And the second thing is, as soon as it finished and it was off, he went to the producer. He said, "How was that? Was that okay? And can you give me some feedback?" Like,
interesting.
He's an impressive guy.
Yeah.
Other faces. Next year's World Cup winning captain, Charles Olivon. Could be the face of rugby
if they win the.
When they win the
DuPont. What are we talking about?
Yeah,
it's DuPont, isn't it?
DuPont.
Although you can only fit his face on the box. His head is so large.
It is the box.
There's no
just open it up and take the CD out.
Sia Khaleesi as well.
And Capusu. Oh, yeah. You got to fit Capusu. What's his name in there?
And Capuoso.
No, I think legitimately it's DuPont and Khaleesi and
Colby,
Bowden
Barrett,
and then maybe you sneak Rees-Summit on.
What about Len or Alan or Ned?
Or Finn Russell.
Jed?
Finn Russell with a bottle of 2020, something like that. Buckfast.
One of those.
Actually, sack all this. It should be the man who is the most important player in the world, who should be the highest paid player in the world.
Franz Malherbe.
Wow.
Should be.
Well, whilst we're on this, let me tell you about a concept called fracking the pie. So
you mentioned this earlier. You teased it.
Don't tell us about your Pornhub subcategories.
Exactly. I might mark this up in case I can't explain it in any kind of logical way. But I think it's a fast...
No, come on, we'll take you through this. Oh, hold on. How about just like Premiership game that you saw today, London Irish v Leicester? You watched all of that, right?
Watched all of it.
Yeah.
So a couple of minutes on that, and then we'll come to this.
Then we'll frack some pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch entertaining game. It looked like it looked at the start like Leicester would always have enough, but the longer it went on, the more London Irish came into it, and when there was the double, there was Matt Rogerson scored, and then almost immediately Ollie Collins scored that great try, great pace
for his future club.
Yeah.
Against his future club.
His future club.
Is he signed? Is he?
No, he hasn't signed, but he will. It's such. When these rumours are like that, it's done deals, isn't it?
Yeah, and if Paddy Jackson had his kicking boots on, it could have been a different story. But good win for Leicester, 5-point win for them. And sadly, the last game that we'll see Nemani Nadolo.
Yeah. He's been a bit of a star. I'm very sceptical about how effective he'd be in the Premiership and for Leicester Tigers. Aging superstar, I did not think he was going to do well. And let's be honest, not a fan of his conditioning. I thought all those things combined, he would not do. I didn't think he'd do anything. I think he's been very, very good.
He just offers something.
He does.
So dangerous and different to like Manu. I guess would be the closest you've got in terms of just the power and the size, but he's so much bigger than Manu. He's like 3 stone heavier
huge.
than Manu. He's
huge.
Absolutely huge. He looks huge compared to. So he was. You see him stood alongside Jasper Wiese, who is legitimately Springbok number 8, who are like Springbok number 8 will be the biggest man in the world, and he's massive compared to Jasper Wiese. He is so enormous. He can still move.
Want big savings on best-in-class supplements? From November 21st to 28th, you can save 25% on all of Bioptimizer's products. No restrictions and no limits. This is their biggest sale of the year, and it won't happen again until 2023, which means right now is the best time to stock up on Magnesium Breakthrough, P3OM probiotics, Mastizymes, and more. Just go to www.bioptimizers.com/podcast10 and enter podcast 10 for 25% off any order during 2022 Black Friday, November 21st through 28th.
Going forward, I think he does sometimes get exposed going backwards when teams kind of play around him.
Did anyone mention Andre Pollard today in comms? Because he got injured in like 15 minutes of his debut.
Fullback, brilliant.
But then we haven't seen him since, and Leicester just do not give you any information on anything.
Not that I'm aware of, but I watched most of the second half with the kids, so I was kind of on mute or not listening to as much as I should have been.
No, that's fine.
So no,
okay.
No inside information for your fantasy rugby draft, Tim, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's what you're after, is it?
Well, I did pick him up.
So sneaky.
I did pick him up off the waiver wire on Saturday because I just need a fly half. I don't have a fly half. But anyway,
fly halves are difficult.
Have I won any games yet?
No, set your bloody team, and you would have done today.
Yeah, you could have easily won today.
Oh well, I think until next year, the dream of fantasy rugby draft is over. Next year,
set your lineup out of respect for your
out of respect.
Yeah,
for the people you're playing with. And then what was there any other games?
That was it.
That was it. Yeah.
So Newcastle Exeter, Harlequins Gloucester, Sale Bristol, and Tigers Irish.
Worcester and Wasp have got a lot to answer for.
Oh yeah, they really do.
And they might answer for it this week in front of the MPs. So good luck.
We'll see.
Best of luck.
JB, fracking the pie.
Oh yeah, fracking the pie. So
I'm going to say one more thing before you get into this. You just reminded me. A mate of mine worked in Wolverhampton for a bit. Anyway, so I went to visit him once. We were walking through a park, and there was this couple on a bench.
Oh no.
And we overheard her say to him, they finished kissing, and she went, "Oh, I'm just going to get this." It was a sort of Brummie accent. "Take me home and smash my pie in."
Oh. That's horrendous. That's horrendous. God. I feel awful. I feel ill.
Oh my God.
It happened. I'm sorry, but it
happened.
I apologise, but it happened.
Nothing we can do about that. It just happened.
JB.
So fracking the pie. This is a commercial concept, okay? And I have not created this. It's come from an American sports writer, and I heard about it this week. I thought, bloody hell, what does that say? What does that say about rugby? So, what's happening in sports at the moment is we're all chasing future revenues. The whole sport is based on future revenues, and they need to continue to grow these revenues in order to pay the players, and it's expansion for expansion's sake. But they're not doing particularly well, which is why you end up with these ridiculous situations with FTX, which would be a great example, sponsoring the arena of the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. Now, FTX, on the face of it, why would FTX want to sponsor Miami Heat? Now, in case you don't know, look at the FTX story. It is a cryptocurrency trading exchange, yada, yada, yada.
That has completely catastrophically imploded.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
Because it was not because of anything beyond the fact it was
fraud.
Yeah.
A Ponzi scheme dressed up as a legitimate.
But the
company.
the media currently running cover for
It's
the guy
amazing,
who
isn't
caused the fraud because you kind of wonder
He's stolen millions of
Trillions.
billions.
Sorry,
Millions of people's money.
Yes.
billions
In
of
the
people's
billions.
money. I know, but it seems to be getting covered by the media. It appears potentially because also in on the scam
Everybody
is lots of people in positions of very, very high power.
Well, allegedly, people, it's money laundering.
Potentially, including the President of the United States.
And money laundering via Ukraine, and there's all sorts of things going on. So anyway, we can get into that another time because it's fascinating. But yeah, FTX sponsors this stadium.
Yeah.
And this is what we would call fracking the pie. Because all of the sports leagues in the United States, and particularly football over here, have been looking for the longest time to actually grow the pie. So you look at the investment they made, the NBA, this is into China, 20 years of investment into China, well, that blew up spectacularly. You see the football clubs trying to get into markets across the globe, and that's kind of failing now. They've sort of reached their peak, and that's why you probably see Liverpool up for sale and Manchester United up for sale because they think they're probably growing as much as they can. So instead of growing the pie, what you end up doing is you start fracking the pie. You start looking at who is it that you can sell things to. No differences to sponsorship for the longest time, really. But who is watching sport? And you get this really fascinating rubber meets the road situation where if you look at, say, the people that market sport and market the, say, sportswear, like, I don't know, whoever it may be, they would tell you that the average rugby fan is a postgraduate degree woman of colour and her diverse mates. But the rubber meets the road when you see all the gambling companies come into football and come into rugby and FTX, which is basically just another form of gambling. Because they're saying, no, actually, you don't have postdoctorate degree women watching your sport. You've got like barstool slubs and middle-class men, and we want them to gamble. So you've got a situation now where they're basically just fracking the pie, and you can see that the sponsors that are coming in are doing so in order to sell to that particular demographic, and they're loving it. And so very weird combinations happen, like the NBA giving you your social justice lecture, whilst meanwhile, fingers crossed that you get addicted to gambling. And it's it is quite an interesting dynamic. So I thought, like, how does this work for rugby? Because rugby is not simultaneously not managed to grow its pie.
No.
It doesn't know.
France is slightly growing their pie.
France is, right?
But England isn't. Wales isn't.
Yeah, and to so-called grow the pie, it's not as if they need to go to new markets because they've not even saturated their primary market. And the secondary problem to this is if football and all the American sports think that they're sort of marketing to a fresh new market of young, trendy, diverse women, does rugby think that? Because you actually would think by all the campaigns it runs, bloody, I don't know, Don't Beat Your Wife Week at Saracens and what's the other one? Rainbow Laces Week at Bath and all that sort of stuff. It seems to be that they do not think, or they don't know who their core client is. So they're simultaneously not doing anything like, we don't see much. You don't see much of the gambling companies in rugby. So presumably either nobody bets on rugby or the gambling companies don't think that rugby has the right demographic to target.
Well, I do. So a friend of ours we've all played with was at a point in time a professional gambler.
Yep.
And he'd I can't remember the exact stats, but he said a Premier League game would have like tens of millions of pounds. Any standard Premier League game, the betting markets would be covered to the tune of tens of millions of pounds of bets on that. And rugby would struggle to get to £10,000 on standard games. Like they are just the order of magnitude difference is right, but the figures will be slightly wrong because it was years since we had this conversation.
Yeah.
But it is an enormous order of magnitude less the betting market for rugby.
So the only real betting company is Leo Vegas, who used to be Leicester Tigers. I don't think they are now.
Don't know.
So even Leo Vegas has moved out of the rugby space. We did something for two gambling firms, didn't we? We did Rugby but better, and I've done something for Betfair, I think.
Yeah, Six Nations, because probably Six Nations is one of those where there is a bigger market.
So they've not really managed to exploit. I mean, that's probably a good thing. They've not really managed to exploit their existing fans. They're certainly not growing the pie, and yet simultaneously, I can't help but think when I look at the trials and tribulations of football and the NBA, who are so desperate to grow their audience, have got to go to different markets and different demographics. Rugby hasn't even reached half the people that should be interested in rugby, and yet we're struggling. And if you look at the things they are trying to do to improve their reach, if you talk to Premiership Rugby, you would all of their focus is on broadening out the game to women or something like that. And it's just, I'm thinking, you're nuts.
There was
absolutely nuts.
Hey, I'm not necessarily saying this is the wrong thing to do.
Although I do think women do like rugby more than they like football. So maybe it's not nuts.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not. Look, by the way, when I say this, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing this. I'm just my observation from being at Twickenham. There is clearly an effort to present rugby as a if you looked at the presentation of the game and the whole event and the personnel that are on the fan zone areas and on the camera if you just looked at them, you would assume rugby is very young.
It's not.
It's a very young sport, and then you look around at the actual people that are there, and I don't quite, and I don't know if this is along the lines of what you're talking about, but it's just a spin-off of what you're saying, is what's being presented is not matching who your audience actually is.
Yes.
And that is not...
Because, do you know what I think it is?
And that's not going to work, is it?
They are ashamed of who their audience is. It's not cool, is it? It's not cool to go into the boardroom and say, our audience is a wealthy, middle-aged man who goes to Twickenham.
But this is what I mean. The sponsors of rugby do know this because it's Land Rover and it's Guinness.
And Investec.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the wealth management firms. It's not the gambling firms.
They know who's watching rugby and who cares about rugby.
Yeah, and I think that's
a very interesting point. Yeah.
So the gambling firms, I mean, Twickenham's a huge stadium, a huge platform for a lot of firms. You'd have thought if there was any gambling interest, it would have manifested itself there. But there's just not. FTX, I guess, would be, because Twickenham fans have a lot of money.
So in terms of fracking the pie, I would say that international rugby, you can see routes to growth, and there's lots of very, very lucrative sponsors that are desperate to get involved. The lower down the pyramid, even when you get to Premiership, you can see. I mean, look at some of the sponsors of some of the Premiership clubs.
Maserati parking.
You're starting to scratch. But that's Quins, and then you're starting to sort of go, is it Worcester had like a local boiler company?
Oh, well, hang on.
Oh, Bosch.
To be fair, Bosch is a big
I'll take that back. I take that back.
But Newcastle have on their staff laptops a paving and drive company.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Also, I've Beardmore & Co. Independent Financial Advisors were toying with the idea of sponsoring Byron McGuigan or Aaron Reid because, of course, he scores lots of tries. It's very easy to do so. Very cost effective if you want to go and sponsor a sale player.
Whereas if you want to sign Mario Toji's image rights, like Nigel Ray,
Nigel Ray will be rubbing his hands.
Rock Nation and Jay-Z have a piece of that pie.
Exactly.
Then.
So I guess just to build on what you were saying, JB, we always talk about the objective of rugby being to grow the pie, and actually things like a global season and a thin alignment, I think, would actually facilitate the growth of the pie. But for every month or season that goes by where those big picture decisions aren't made, to get by, clubs are having to try and squeeze more out of what they already have.
Yes.
That is stadium sales, that is putting the price of your kits up, or I don't know. But that's where rugby's struggling, because there is a finite amount of money you can squeeze out of any given rugby fan.
Yeah, the sports writer who I got these quotes from, or this idea from, is a guy called Ethan Strauss. So if you want to read up on him, he'll explain his concept far more eloquently than I have done. I think just with rugby. I mean, look
was
at
the general point? Was he just describing what happens, or was he saying was there a value?
Yeah, there wasn't anything to
it?
do with rugby. He was talking about the NBA.
No, I know, but was there a value judgment on it?
Yeah, there was.
You shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Like
So
this.
what he was saying is that a load of NFL players, a load of NBA players get scammed for money. And they get scammed for money by FTX, by gambling companies, and
Tom Brady lost millions on FTX.
And crypto is perfect for it because crypto is always like, you must buy now. You must buy now. The thing is going off, and if you don't buy now, you're going to miss out.
To the moon.
To the moon, exactly. That's exactly what they were up to.
Well, one of the biggest person they've not. Last I read, they've not released any names, but there was more than 50 people who had invested more than $20 million into FTX. The biggest of which was something in the region of $250 million.
Oh my word!
What is effectively a Ponzi scheme with virtually nothing back. I mean, some of the stuff that's come out of it.
The emojis for expenses is my favourite.
On a disappearing chat.
Yeah, so you submit your expenses and you get an emoji thumbs up or emoji thumbs down
from a disparate group of managers. Worse than that, they didn't even have a consolidated list of employees.
Yeah,
so they didn't have a list of who was working there.
I wondered, when I read that about the list of employees, if I showed up to work at FTX, would anyone send me home?
Yeah, guys, the coffee's good. Chai latte's on point today, boys.
Would anyone say anything? How long until I actually get employed? It'd be mad. So
insane.
Yeah. So the point was that the players are getting ripped off, but the players are just collateral damage because they don't really care if the players lose 70 million quid or whatnot. What they really want is the fans to invest, and that's why FCX Stadium exists, and that's why all the gambling companies are coming in. And they made the point that you got the two ends of the spectrum here. You got FTX, which has no regulation whatsoever, and gambling, which has incredibly high regulations, and they both basically do the same thing. And certainly that is a problem for me because I'm like you, Tim. Let adults do what adults do. If you want to gamble. It's completely on you. I don't think there's anything wrong. If you want to get crypto, go get some crypto. I hate the idea of it being regulated or missing from the sport. I also hate the idea of people getting screwed out of their money or getting addicted to gambling or losing it all or all that sort of stuff. So I don't really know what the right answer is. So it's more like a point of interest. Like, how much should they be? How much should these companies be exploiting their fans? But that's what fans are there for. Fans are there to buy stuff. They want to be sold. I mean, when I go to Sale or I go to any rugby club, I want to be sold their stuff. I get very annoyed if there's not the right pin badge on sale. I want their merchandise. I want the experience. I want whatever they're selling.
So I was at Bowden Rugby Club, local. I don't know what level it'll be, level 7, level 8, something like that. And they had they had a club shop out the front of in the car park. It's like a
like a little trailer.
No, it wasn't a trailer. It wasn't a porta cabin. It was like one of those garden offices that you can buy.
Like a new Brighton conservatory type thing.
Yeah, but with double glazing door, double doors that open and pop up shop and I thought that's awesome. Fair play, very cool. My favourite thing about the FTX thing is I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favourite shows, and the Larry David advert. FTX got him to do the advert. And the whole point was, it was Larry David in loads of different circumstances going, I don't see the point in this thing. It seems like a scam, because that's very Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm, to be very cynical. And then at the end of it, after he goes, FTX, I'm not sure about this. and that was meant to be there. And now it's like, oh yeah, Larry knew.
Larry always, and he exploited them for however much he got paid out of it.
He fracked that pie.
He certainly did. Certainly did.
Interesting concept.
Yeah, I like it. And, I was trying to write something about this for Rugby Pass, but I don't actually know what. It's hard because there's no conclusions, is there? It doesn't happen in rugby.
I think it's how much can you squeeze out of fans before you have to accept the fact that you need to grow the pie.
Yeah.
And rugby is at the point where they have to grow. And
there's a sustainability issue as well. I mean, why is it not okay just to be sustainable? But I don't think any businesses are okay just to be sustainable. I don't think Langer Rorke's to be very happy. Well, we're just sustainable.
It works the other way around. When I was a teacher, this used to do my head in. As someone who oh my God, it used to do my head in. And you both have wives in in the public sector, and I bet it's exactly the same. You get to like the end of a year, and if you had some money left over, you go, "Oh, great! Well, haven't we done well? Haven't we done well working well within our means, and we saved a few quid? No, we've got to spend it, otherwise we won't get that in our budget next year. Get less next year. So you spend it on crap that you don't need.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
I could tell you some incredible stories which I will not do on air about that kind of thing. Some remarkable stories.
Yeah. Well, it's not that many, so great.
Yeah,
great times.
Worst one on that I heard it, and honestly, the BBC is one that does my head in because I work for a competitor, and the one that did my head in the most. Bearing in mind, I used to go to bed when I did a breakfast show on XFM. I used to go to bed and early, but before I did, I'd sort of be flicking around on the telly, and I'd see adverts for my competitor on BBC, paid for partly. So I felt like I'm paying for a massive prime time advert before England's football match in the World Cup, saying "Listen to your competitor tomorrow morning." It used to do my head in.
Same with the BBC's offering of rugby podcasts as an example.
Yep.
It gets pushed everywhere you can imagine.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have.
But they won't be talking about fracking the pie. I guarantee you that.
100%.
Yeah, this is the only place you can get chat like that.
Definitely. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Although, just one last one.
Yeah,
whilst it's fresh in my mind, we did cover a crypto story in rugby, didn't we?
We did. And I think I seem to remember me being remarkably cynical about it.
Fan tokens. Now, if you want to talk about a crypto with no value attached to it, the fan token will be right up there. But looking at that, it's a mixture of gambling and crypto, but it does seem rather malign. I don't know,
benign.
But benign. It doesn't seem. There's nothing in that really, other than I don't know. It's just a nothing.
Yeah, the honest way to say it was, we want a bit more money from you. Here's a token effort that you might get something for giving us a few quid.
Yeah,
that's basically it.
And it's also when all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Like a crypto company trying to fit their product onto the sports scene.
What do they call it? Technological masturbation. There's just no point for it.
There is no point to it. Like you are solving a problem that doesn't exist with a technology that you want to push to people.
Yeah, so tokens are basically what sunk FTX. I see no reason to have a fan token for Leicester Tigers, Harlequins.
No.
Anyone else really?
No.
What have you been watching or reading or doing? Obviously, you've been reading that guy.
I have. What have I done recently?
The pie.
Yeah, I have read about a lot of financial scandals. So I did the FTX. What was the other one?
Tether's the one you need to read about as well.
I don't get Tether. So
it could be another FTX, basically.
Could it?
Yeah.
The one. Something else I was reading. That's the one. So do you remember Bernie Madoff?
The subprime mortgage.
No. So yeah, so
Madoff.
Oh, that was Fannie, Freddie. What? So I hear the Freddie and Fannie Mae. I never understand what that actually means. I know it's about the subprime mortgages and
lenders.
Yeah.
Mortgages and lenders, right?
But why the names Fannie and Freddie Mae?
Fannie Federal something.
Oh, is that it? Okay. All right. Well, it doesn't really matter. I understand.
Yeah, I have read about that.
It was the Big Short's good film.
Yeah. Fannie. So Federal. So anyway.
But Madoff Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, so Madoff Ponzi scheme. This is incredible.
Do you know the difference between Ponzi and pyramid?
No, I don't.
Do you know, Tim? A Ponzi scheme.
No, I don't know.
Pyramid scheme.
No, I don't know the difference.
A pyramid scheme, you're actually selling something. So like Herbalife, or I don't actually know. But you have a product that you sell down, and you have a hierarchy of sales. So
everyone who has someone that they know that does one of these, whether it's juices or some sort of makeup, has had to mute them from their Facebook.
Yes,
because they just that's fracking the pie with your mates. That is
exactly.
So that's a pyramid scheme because there is actually a product being passed down. It's just an ever increasing pyramid. Whereas a Ponzi scheme, there's no product. It's just the promise of better returns. So like Madoff is a pure really Ponzi scheme.
So Madoff is a pure Ponzi. How much money do you reckon the investors have got back?
Oh, I have seen this.
Yeah, because I told you about it.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen it. I think I've read it prior to that, I was astonished. Genuinely astonished.
Any guesses, Tim?
No.
With 13 years afterwards now, how much money in the pound? If you put in a pound with Birdie Madoff, how much money would you have got back now?
Well, what you would have been led to believe you would get back if you put a pound in after 13 years would be a tenner.
Well, yeah. So Madoff, all that was doing for the Ponzi scheme 101 is you get money off a few investors. You tell them guaranteed X% returns, 5%, 10%, 20%, and then you pay out to those people their 10% return, and then more people come in and you pay out another 10%. So you're paying out people's returns on the promise of more people coming in. So you need an ever increasing number of people coming in the bottom end to be able to pay out to the top end.
Yeah. So of your original capital, if you put in £1, you would have got back to date, amazingly, 75p, which is an astonishingly high amount of money considering it was a Ponzi scheme.
I could not believe that.
I couldn't either.
I thought it would just be gone.
So what happened is, as soon as Madoff's empire crumbled, a lawyer got involved called Irvin Pickard, who is, I think he's based on the same street as the Madoff offices. I'm pretty sure he's just like across the road. And him and his team have got all of the transactions from Madoff, and they've unpicked them all. When did they get their returns? Because if you think about it, being a Ponzi scheme, you have your seed investment right at the start, like your anchor client, if you want. Mm-hmm. And then those guys come in, and then they start getting paid out by all the guys that start coming in subsequently. So you had to go right to the start of the Ponzi scheme and literally just unpick it. When did they get their returns, and what was it? And because there's no underlying investment, all you have is other people's money. You just look at that and you go, well, if you got a 10% return in 2006 or whenever it was, that 10% isn't yours.
10% belongs to someone else.
Somebody else's. You need to pay that 10% back, please. So they've gone from like the 10 top clients.
So rather than the bottom feeders being the ones that end up losing, it's the top feeders that are going to be the ones that lose biggest.
Yeah. So the guys,
because they'll only lose the 10% gains. They're not going to lose their original stake.
Yeah. So
they just have that taken off them.
They will still get their money back. Well, 75 pence of it, right? But they'll have to give back all of their so-called growth, which is actually just other people's money. But of course, the longer you were in the Ponzi scheme, the more growth that you got. And I think the number one person to give back gave back something like 9 billion quid. So they're 17 billion quid short, and they've raised something like 15 billion or something, of which they've distributed a lot of it.
That's about 3 weeks worth of US
exactly right
military exports.
Oh yeah, it's delicious, worthless money. So yeah, the number one person invested some billions of quid. First guy in, was later found drowned in his pool, completely normal. Absolutely normal. Nothing wrong with that.
CCTV just happened to be off at the time.
He splashed water on the camera. Game over. So he died. Wife paid back the money from his estate. So this lawyer, Irvin Pickard, alongside the Security and Exchanges Commission, have set up this pot of money which is administered for the benefit of the investors. And as they get more in, they then just pay out more to the people who've lost their capital. It's not all plain sailing, though, because Irvin Pickard have charged something like £600 million. I was going to say,
I can imagine there's a fair slice of that.
Just 600 million. Hey, got to get my beak wet.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Well, I'm going to mention something that I saw an advert for a Netflix thing called 1899, and it was from the makers of Dark, which just purely reminded me, if you haven't watched Dark, watch Dark.
Yeah, I have watched Dark.
It's awesome. Watch it in German.
Yes.
With subtitles, not with the dubbed version.
Yes.
But it's one of the best shows I've watched. It's awesome.
Interesting.
I think so.
Oh, my word, sorry. Baker and Hostler fees, who are Irvin Pickard's firm, 1.25 billion.
So they're getting paid.
Oh,
you better know it.
You better know it.
Wow.
What's that called? It's
called 1899. It's
1899.
I think it's part English, part German. But it's from the same people that made Dark. Watch Dark first, because that's awesome.
Well, I've got a flight to Dubai, so I'll probably watch some box sets in the air.
We've got some games next week.
Yeah, go on.
We have got on Friday the 2nd of December. What will you be doing on Friday? Are you playing?
Final against Marcel Garvey's boys.
Nice. Or Andy Farrell and Jason Robinson.
Yeah, I'll smash them.
It's Friday. We've got Bath hosting Quins.
Bath hosting Quins. Bath hosting Quins.
Quins.
Narrow Quins.
Saturday. So Saturday 3:00. We've got Irish hosting Falcons.
Irish,
who are bottom of the table?
Yep, Irish. Strong Irish win.
Irish.
I think Irish. They've got to start winning because they've been. They
Very
could
good.
They could have beaten if Paddy Jackson had kicked his kicks. They could have beaten Leicester. They were in the arm wrestle the whole way. So yeah, give me Irish. Then at 5:30, Gloucester host Saints.
Live on BT Sport.
So is the 3:00 on BT?
I'm not sure actually. I think it's a double bill rather than
so
there must be an England game or something or some big football game in the afternoon.
Oh yeah,
maybe. Is it England Wales next
no,
Saturday?
that's Tuesday.
No, that's Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. It might
last
be the
16,
first round of the last
16.
16. Yeah.
Anyway, so it's 5:30 and 8 p.m. BT Sport have got.
Yeah, so 5:30
got
Gloucester Saints, which give me a home win.
Gloucester Saints, yeah, home win.
Well, Saints have played some nice stuff, and Saints are currently in top 4.
Yeah, they are.
And then 8:00 on Saturday is Bristol hosting Tigers.
Bristol hosting Tigers. Tigers.
Tigers just, yeah.
And then no game on Sunday. So that's it.
There you go.
That's all she wrote.
Right.
Wonderful. Well done, everyone.
Thank you for your support. I've just realised we had a bunch of emails we haven't gone through, but
Oh God, we have some great emails.
we had some great emails. Oh, I feel bad, but
We'll do them again next week.
we'll get to them. Nice one.
Tim.
Yes, Phil.
Sorry, I was going to ask. I love that top. I love that track top.
Oh.
What is it? Is that a Duke?
Duke
Ah.
University.
It's very nice.
It is. I got this on Labor Day in America in a Nike store. When they're just sales, they were giving stuff away. Like,
God bless America.
got this. God bless America, indeed. Right, let the boys play.
Want big savings on best-in-class supplements? From November 21st to 28th, you can save 25% on all of Bioptimizer's products. No restrictions and no limits. This is their biggest sale of the year, and it won't happen again until 2023, which means right now is the best time to stock up on Magnesium Breakthrough, P3OM probiotics, Mastizymes, and more. Just go to www.bioptimizers.com/podcast10 and enter podcast 10 for 25% off any order during 2022 Black Friday, November 21st through 28th.